Pop in, say hi. If you've never come into one of my lives before, hi, I'm Cindy. I explore the inside and the outside. And today was a little bit of the outside, surprisingly, because, it was in the plan to get outside and get some fresh air. But my sister was going to a flea market this weekend, and I wanted to check it out. She knew I wanted to check it out as a possibility of something that we could maybe make a little bit of movement in. And yeah, it was really, really interesting. And then we went swimming. So I thought that was pretty awesome. We spent the afternoon in a public swimming pool, and it was actually a free swim. We went there because my sister said it was inexpensive, but I didn't realize inexpensive meant free. I thought that was absolutely amazing to be able to go off and go for a swim. I haven't gone for a swim in a long time. I really appreciate swimming. I had lots of fun. My sister whooped my butt in going for the swim ring. It's like I do. Sometimes you get hockey pucks or something and you throw it into the water and you dive down and you grab the puck. While they had rings that kind of, I guess they filled up with water as they sank down to the bottom, and then you swim down and you grab the rings. And my sister could knock that out of the, oh my goodness, and she doesn't even open up her eyes. And for me, I don't open up my eyes either, but I have such a hard time finding that ring, especially when it's in the deep end. Hello, Owen. Hello, Kathy. I hope you had an amazing day. Yeah, you're going to be surprised, Kathy, right? It's going to be fun. It's going to be a fun little serendipitous moment that you get to share with me. Yeah, it's going to be interesting. That's pretty neat, though, that you found that amethyst and right on the gravel that's being used as filler. That's pretty neat. It makes me curious to know where they get their fill from, because that would be a good place to go hunting for crystals, Kathy. If you could get that information, find out where they get their beach fill, or make a public inquiry. But don't tell them why you want to know. Find out where they get it from, and maybe you can go off on the weekend and right get in there and see if you can find some crystals. I would be so excited. I was always excited when I go on my trip and I score something really beautiful. I was actually looking at something that I love. This one here, I picked it up this afternoon. I like to handle my crystals, you guys. It's right, that telluric energy that Mother Nature has. And there's nothing better than the crystal, because these crystals are millions of years old. But I was looking at this one with the smoky quartz after we talked, eh? Look at those. Aren't those really pretty? Yeah, and I dug that one out of the ground. I didn't even know what it was until I got it cleaned up. Something must have poked out of it or something for me to think that had something, because when you look at the back, nothing looks right, just looks like a rock, but something must have poked out a little bit. And then when I got it home and I washed that out and I saw it was actually smoky quartz. And I've got smoky quartz, right? I got a few pieces of smoky quartz here, but none that I dug. And I dug that one. So I was pretty excited about that. Oh, wonderful. Oh, and yeah, and I put good mojo, right? These things, they sit on my desk and I play with them and I look at them and I give them love, and I actually think, of the smile that it puts on your face, Owen, when you see what you got, right? And then I wonder, do you walk around? My jacket right now has a crystal in each pocket. And over the course of the winter, I should have done it more, but stick my hands in my pocket and just to be able to find those two rocks and just give them a little rub, I really believe that there is some really serious positive energy, and they're so beautiful. They can't help but make you smile, right? Oh my goodness, I didn't put my hair up in a ponytail, right? I was letting it dry because I was out having a swim. You guys, I decided on my very last cut. I'm going to color my hair one more time, my very last time. Well, I'm going to have it colored one more time with the haircut that I'm going to get. And not soon, because the haircut style that I want is probably going to be pretty expensive. It's going to be a few $100s for sure. Oh, for sure, a few $100s. But I was at the coffee shop yesterday, and I have curly hair. My hair is curly, but you know, if it's not got gel on it, it kind of just looks like a frizz ball just from coloring it since I was 16 years old every 6 weeks. But this lady at the coffee shop, and I walked by her and I was staring at her. I couldn't help it. Her hair was so pretty. They were just ringlets, like the size of my baby finger, but really tight ringlets, that size, and so perfect. But they were all over her head, and her head was the style was just all around like this, but they were just ringlets. Oh my goodness. It was so adorable. I said, I have to have that. I have to have that hairstyle. I think that hairstyle for my moving into being a senior hairstyle, what a nice style to go in. Because if I could train my hair, and which is, getting a perm, because I would have to get a perm in order to get that hairstyle. Um, once it's there, it's trained, it will stay curly. I was even looking at a couple of ringlets in my hair today, that because my hair is naturally curly, but it does frizz out. It could use some structure to it. So I thought, well, I decided a periwinkle, which is kind of a blue silver or a blue purpley kind of color, just very, very light, almost like my pictures in the background there. And then with the darker roots, because my hair, I don't know, I'm looking for the gray, and I'm sure coloring my hair with the nice and easy every 6 weeks is making it difficult for me to see the hair, but the roots still come out. My roots are this long, and I'm looking for those silver hairs. I'm thinking there might be some here, looking very, very closely, but oh my goodness, I have to have gray hair. 63 years old. There's got to be some gray hair there. So I thought, let's see what my real hair color is for the first time, right? Since I was 16 years old. And see if the color that I picked, that periwinkle with the darker charcoal underneath, and that perm with the ringlets, how nice that would look on me. And if my hair, as it grows silver or gray or whatever color it goes, right, that it would grow into those ringlets and just carry on. And then I can just get the ringlets trimmed every while. Now I could do that myself, just pull one and just give the snip on the end. That would be so cool. So I'm thinking that. I actually even complimented the lady because she saw me staring at her. I just says, "Oh, I just love your hair." Right? And I didn't know if it's a wig, because I know a lot of the the black ladies, they like to wear the wigs, but I don't care. It was beautiful, and it looked really, really nice on her, right? So I complimented her hair, right? And then she goes, "Oh, I was just looking at your hair too." And I says, "Yeah, but mine's all frizzy." But thank you. Yeah. So it was a nice little interaction, but at the same time, it gave me an idea, because I think that Samson, when they chopped off his hair, right? And everything special about him just disintegrated into nothing. I have a little bit of that. And that comes from my childhood. What you think about is realized, right? But from my childhood and my mother, because of the curly hair, and if you think this is curly, you should have seen me as a kid. I was like Shirley Temple. No, not like Shirley Temple, like Annie, right? Right? More like Michael Jackson. Oh my goodness. It was so, if I could find a picture of me at that age, I'll show it to you. But yeah, it was very curly, very afro, and I wonder if I could pull that, if I could pull it off. But my mother, she kept my hair short because my hair was so curly, and I didn't want my mother brushing my hair or combing my hair because it was painful. It was bad enough when she put our hair in those pin curls, right? But oh my goodness, when she had to give you a brush out. I think she taught us how to brush our hair pretty early. And if we didn't brush our hair, we went to school without our hairbrush. And I'm sure that happened. I'm sure that happened lots. Hello, Owen. Oh my goodness, Andrew's not here. I hope he's okay. How's everybody's week been going? It sure was nice going for a swim. Okay, so you guys, we have a little bit of a mind thing going on right now that I've got to kind of hash over and look at how it might work for us or how it might not. I might be going into a little bit business with my sister. We're thinking of opening up a stall for all the stuff. You know, over the past 5 years of working where I was working, I accumulated a lot of school stuff, right? There are things that I'm not going to part with, right? My artwork, right? My trees, my forest, my artwork is not going anywhere. But I have lots of artwork. I have lots of artwork. It's just meant for a bigger place, not for this place. So it's stored away, right? But also, you know, I've got a lot of knickknacks that need to go. And I'm thinking, wow, I wonder, I would be amazing. It would be perfect for me because, you know, it was being a little bit of the star of the show at the thrift store that I worked at. You know, we put on a show on the weekend, and it wasn't just a show, it was a community that we had. And I was saying to my sister, people would just come in just to say hi. And they would always leave with something. But it was just in that interaction and that passing of energies on the weekend that I just really loved I really loved my job. It was a great job, right? But it wasn't a great job. And if I'm following my lessons properly, I didn't really have much of a choice. You know, I tried to resolve things, make things better, but you know, in the end you kind of know, like, you know, it's not going to resolve itself. And if I'm following those lessons, like I said, they that I believe in those, right? And if I don't have those lessons, and if I don't practice those lessons in myself, and, you know, go where I'm going to enjoy what I do, that I'm going to have fun. But it's not enough just to have fun. This would be my first step into entrepreneurship. I've made money in lots of different ways, but actually a business, right? So I thought, well, maybe it would be a good idea to step into it without that big investment, which me and my sister, we don't have anyway. We're partnering in this. But if we could start at the flea market, and in this city, there are a couple of really popular, busy flea markets that go on. And this one we visited today is one of them. It just happens to be just a few blocks away from where I live. We went in today, being a Sunday, but being still the weekend, just to feel out the busyness in it, to see what was going on and who was moving through the building, if there was some traffic, and if I would be comfortable in the community. And there was no question in that. They've got that down packed. And in that kind of atmosphere, that community part of it is huge, because that's the promotion of the business. It's the people who are the diehards that show up all the all the time, and that's the fun, right? That's what makes you love your job. So my sister's main job will be to bring the stock in, right? And my job will be to run it. Perfect. Cindy wanted to run the show. There you go, Cindy. You get to run the show. And it's weekend, so it won't interfere with me looking for work while I'm on EI, right? If I am so lucky, grateful, right? That would be some money that I believe, right? I did my very best to follow all the rules and all the protocols, Um, I knew this was going to happen. There was just so many chances, and it was so convenient. Sometimes it's in that comfort that we don't move. We don't move, and like I said, if you don't make that move yourself, things will happen to make it so that you get a wake up call, wake up call, wake up call, until finally your whole life is thrown upside down and there is no possibility at all, right? So. Uh, if I'm so lucky that everything works out okay, works out good for me, then it will be absolutely perfect. Absolutely perfect. If I can do the flea markets on the weekends and promote my brand, because of course I'm going to promote my brand, right? You guys, I'm not done yet. It's my brand. Prairie Dodgers. I said to my sister, it's Prairie Dodgers and whatever else you wanna call it, right? She can pick the other half of the name, but it's Prairie Dodgers, right? It's part of my brand. It has to be, right? Because there'll be YouTube videos in my journey into entrepreneurship, you guys. But that's not the only part of the journey. If I do get my EI, it's unemployment insurance, right? If I do get that, I'm going to take my car money and I'm going to um, join an entrepreneur group, right? And learn a little bit. I need to set myself up for my retirement. Nobody's coming to save me. Nobody's coming to save me. So, you know what? I'm going to go just save myself. And I think in a lot of ways, I get those saves. Those saves are the little gifts, those little graces that pop into our lives for no reason at all. Just like when Kathy went for a walk on the beach, right? She came across some amethyst and put a smile on her face and put a thought my way, right? Right? There, everything is always working out for us, right? It's only in our nervousness about things. And I'm getting better, right? I'm not perfect. A lot of things I should have done a year ago, but I'm doing them now. And because I didn't wait for the 360 to get right back to the beginning again, that maybe I just got a little 45. I gave myself a little 45-degree turn, was just opportunity to make some different choices. So this might work out. My sister and me are going to go half and half. It's going to be $500 a month to rent a stall. So not only do we got to have enough stock, which the stock is not the problem. We got enough stock to get us going, but it's to keep that stock rolling, that we're putting in that effort to make sure that there's enough, right? My sister doesn't care so much about an income. She's okay if she makes her money back because she's got another job, but I don't. So if there was any possible way that we could make this so that this is possibly the roof over my head, that I can divvy out business cards for Prairie Dodgers and right, get into that life coaching, or maybe we can go for coffees and have. I think that's a good one, right? To go to a nice coffee shop and sit at a big table and just have conversations on things. It has to be a quiet place. I can't, these are conversations that you just don't have, sitting in the bar with the loud music going on and everybody way off on the end of the tables and not being able to join in on the conversation. I just really like it like this. Or, you know, uh, in a platform where I'm actually standing up and talking, and then anybody else wants to stand up and talk. I don't know. Feel it out. I was also thinking maybe I could just sit there at a table with my cards and do cards for people. Make an extra $50 every time, but every time somebody rolls through and wants me to pull a card for them, right? And we can have a talk that way. But then I would have to have somebody else there to, right, run the show when the sales are rolling in at the same time. We're right. This is the thing. We just walked into it today. We knew we were going to. Well, I knew I was going to. It was actually my sister's idea, surprisingly. And when my sister gets an idea, you gotta jump on it, right? Because she's a procrastinator from hell. If anybody was my sister Alice, right? But when she has a thought and when she puts effort into her, they always work out, right? They always work out. She is the epitome of an entrepreneur. She really is. But she's been keeping it kind of small and ma pop. Maybe this is a good way for us to step into it. I named the first half of the name of our booth, and she can name the other half. Prairie Dodgers, whatever she wants to call it, it doesn't matter. And then she's got a printing machine, so she gets to print great big labeling so we can make a sign for our booth. Yeah. So I gotta look through. It can all go, as far as I'm concerned. It can all go. My art, my big crystals, some of my cream white pieces, right? That didn't cost much anyway, and I won't get much for them if I were to put them up. Probably sell really well because if I liked them, somebody else is going to too. But I'm keeping them because that's my decor. But lots of this, my smalls cabinet, off it goes, you guys, right? $3 each or two for $5. And we'll just keep buying up every small that we come across. It's like Noah's Ark in my smalls cabinet, you guys. I have over 200 smalls. And that's a lot of money right just in that, right? So I'll have to figure out with my sister what she wants to do in that because, that was all mine. So we're going to have to find ways how to separate our stock. Plus, we got stock together. So whether or not we buy each other out on certain pieces, maybe that's a possibility. And then just tag things with different stickers, hers, mine. Whether we're going to do maybe a 4 sticker like we did and then just rotate the stock a little bit as sales items so we don't stagnate and end up with piles of crap. I don't know. We're going to talk about it. She's thinking about it. I'm thinking about it. She's talking contracts. But she's right. You got to have rules and you got to have understandings, because I'm going to want to go away in September. I'm going to want to go for a little holiday in September. So if we can get that into, if somebody will watch the shop for a weekend, I'm sure my nephew or my niece, maybe my niece will watch the shop for me. Yeah, it won't be a problem. We'll figure something out. So that's my good news. My movement into entrepreneurship, you guys. And if it works out, we'll move from a booth to our own store, right? Where we can actually maybe be part of a plaza or something, and right, get into the thrifting ourselves, right? Dip my toes in the water. If I get another job, it would be a great way for me to give back, right? Because I am gonna, right? I'm a shiner. Wherever I shine, it's going to succeed, and it's just not my store, my stall that's going to succeed. That whole building, every stall operator, every, right, their stalls, they're like little stores in a big hall, right? They're all separated by walls and stuff. So yeah, and we looked at a couple. We looked at an $800 one, and it was big, but the little $470 one was in a really nice spot, and I think it's in a way to stop me and my sister from what do you call it? Stockpiling stock and not bringing in money. The whole point is, right, it's not just something to do, even though it's going to be a fun thing. If you guys saw me in my last job, this is exactly the kind of job that, right, I am a people person. I shine on everybody. And I met somebody online, right? It was Lewis Howes was interviewing a gentleman. Did I leave the channel up? No, I didn't. I forget the name of the gentleman. They were talking about compliments, right? I believe in compliments. I don't know what your guys' idea is about compliments, but if it's a truly felt compliment, not necessarily that feeling has to be yours. It could be the person receiving the compliment. If somebody's wearing a goofy outfit in your opinion, but you can tell they put a lot of work into an effort putting into it. You can see that they're really got a lot of confidence in the way that they look and they're holding themselves well, and right, that recognition of that effort that they put in to what they were doing. My dad was the king of little white lies. He just loved to make people feel good, my dad. And he would tell people how amazing their hair was when it was all over the place, or they had lipstick all, or right, their skin was all broken out, or it didn't matter. My dad could find something beautiful in everybody. And I would see people's faces light up when my dad would say something kind. Sometimes it's just the idea that you have, that what's going on in that somebody's head, that they're there and they're walking in their green 1920s fluted dress with the poodle and the big British red and white and black shoes, like the Beatles, and really funky. But these are our personalities, right? And because it doesn't suit our style, right? Doesn't suit our style, that we don't think it's a nice outfit. But it's appreciating somebody's uniqueness, somebody's style, somebody's creativity, even if the blue eyeshadow was all up. Somebody, right, that was in their mind to do that. And, right, that deserves compliments. And, compliments are really, really big. A lot of compliments, right? But it was pretty neat how I did my compliments because I was working in a little thrift store. So it was easy for me to compliment people's choices in items, when the resellers come in and they get a score and oh, great eye on that one. Do you know how much that's worth? Oh, yeah, that was awesome. And it would make people want to come back. When the lady shoppers would come in and they would pick outfits off the rack, if they looked nice, I never told people something look. I would be honest. They said, "How does this?" Lots of people did. Cindy, what does this look like on me? And I would be honest about it, but letting them know that's my opinion, right? That doesn't mean that it's not nice. If you are that eccentric person, if green and yellow and purple polka dotted lightning striped yellow fabric is your thing, that's your taste, right? And so everybody, when you're giving a compliment that way, it's only showing the commonality is what it's doing. It's recognizing that person, right? Because I work in the thrift store. I look at clothes all day long, and I can appreciate when something looks nice on somebody. So when they got my opinion on something, I just go down the aisle and oh my goodness, walk by somebody. Does that ever look nice? Right? So, oh my goodness, blue's your color, right? And they can be off the rack and buying all the blue outfits and stuff, and literally, right? And it makes people feel good when you compliment, right? Throwing compliments. These small kindnesses sometimes can mean everything, right? You can look at somebody and not think anything about them and then not realize that they're going home to an empty apartment with no food in their cupboard and maybe a chair in the living room, no TV, maybe there's no hydro, so no light. You don't know, but they're presenting themselves when they go out, right? And they don't feel good about themselves, right? And you just take that moment. And even if they're not presenting themselves well, right, they're just as much entitled to a smile. There were a few homeless ladies when I'd go to work that on certain days I would bump into them, and they were canners. And I only know one lady canner, but I used to talk to the canners all the time when because I used to love, I still do, walking back alleys and looking at people's backyards and their patio furniture and their vegetable gardens. I like to do that kind of stuff, right? See their dogs because they're always letting their dogs out. I didn't want a dog myself, but they let their dogs out in the backyard and stuff. I get to see the dogs. Sometimes I'd be able to pick some rhubarb, that's sticking outside the fence or something. And I would bump into these canners, and it always starts off with just a smile and a hello as you're passing. And sometimes you don't even pass. Sometimes you just stop because they're so surprised that somebody actually said hi. They're not screaming at them, "What are you doing in that garbage pail?" or "You're a garbage picker," or "You're not worthy of being a part of this world," which a lot of times, right, these people do think this way, right? And that if you could take a moment just to smile and have a nice day, or smile, or "How's your day going?" And you get to know how hard these people work. They put in 8-hour shifts digging through garbage pails, looking for pop cans and beer bottles, right? It's why I always, put my recyclables, if I remember. I don't always remember because I'm just looking at this and going, I didn't remember yesterday. And now I'm looking in my pail to see if there's one there, right? Right. That it's important that those things that can serve somebody else are visible to them. So leave them by the garbage bins so that they maybe don't have to dig for them, they're still going to jump into the pail because somebody else is throwing them into the pail and there's few to be had. But oh my goodness, this one lady, every time I have to take her granny wagon onto the bus for her because she's got garbage bags of beer cans and pop cans, and she's just taking them up to the hotel vendor so that she can cash them in, right? But that's her groceries and her hydro bill. It's what puts the roof over her head, right? And maybe she does have a roof over her head. Maybe she's not a homeless person because it's not like she's carrying her belongings with her. They're just recyclables that she has with her. So I'm assuming she has a roof over her head, and that's how she's doing it. And she's a lovely lady. We have great conversations, and she's always jumping out, and she's a senior too, jumping out of her seat, telling people to sit down, and right, talking about the weather. And again, sometimes you think these conversations on the weather are monotonous and boring and draining, but sometimes, these conversations are people trying to have a conversation because they don't know how to have a conversation, right? They don't know how. And just like that opening of saying hello or a smile and giving that to somebody, that could be an opening for somebody to make a connection. It's really important for us to stay connected. Sunday nights, I love the Sunday night just because the connection that we have here, it amazes me every week that you guys show up, right? And I love this crew, right? And I shine on this crew because I know, as much as Cindy's kind of hanging out here, there are other parts of me that are hanging out here doing their own thing too, right? And I don't necessarily have to know what that is, but sometimes I get a little bit of glimpse in the serendipities in my life that I do get a little bit of glimpse as to why we hang out a little bit together. Okay, let me have a sip of my coffee. You guys come into the comments here. Oh my goodness. I hope Andrew is okay. Okay. Yeah, it's amazing getting compliments. I do it a lot. I admittedly for myself, I do it. That's my people pleasing. That is me sometimes calming the waves a little bit before you come into a conversation so that it's not agitated or stressed, right? Sometimes you got to know when to jump into a conversation just as much as you know when to not jump into a conversation. And that's a truth too, right? This is what's so great about YouTube because you get to go where you want. You get to hang where you want. There is no um, holdings in that, right? And you really do get to choose. Oh my goodness, I'm looking at the content that I watch. I went in again to the channels that I'm subscribed to, and I am pretty much on YouTube suggestion now, pretty much. And that is inconsistently in what I watch. They get that idea, and it's healthy for AI to get used to me too, right? And every once in a while, was it today or yesterday, they sent me a little square in my thumbnails to say, am I ready for some different content? It's when they think that I've exhausted a lot and and I'm not picking up on resuggested, that I've kind of expanded, and it's time for something new. It's time to move forward. It's time to learn something a little bit different. You guys, I have been deep in learning about the Neanderthals. I would have to say heavy, probably for about 6 months now. They are learning so much. How do you put in what fields? Because it's taking all fields to be able to analyze the Neanderthals and to analyze what's being discovered, because so much is going on in anthropology and archaeology, in scientific formulation of, it's not even ideas anymore, right? They are facts. Did you guys hear that they have revived the bear wolf, right? It's been gone for what, 10,000 years, and they revived that. I don't know. I don't think it's a bad idea. I don't think it's a good idea. I don't really have much in the way of an opinion as to whether or not it should have been revived, because a lot of my ideas in evolution calls for the revival of species, right? I do believe that, we are just one possibility of revivaling into the best human being we possibly can, right? So that we can be good company, right? Good company for whoever, whatever created us. And we're not even close to being that. We're not even close to even having an idea if that's that, right? But these perspectives are out there, and science and anthropology and archaeology, they're working hand in hand right now, you know, and it's going to change some ideas. It's going to change some ideas. It's going to change some truths out in the world, and um, and lots of spiritual ideas and religions will be able to accept it. But in how they present, right, their religious ideas or their spiritual ideas, that might have to change a little bit, because the evidence is, wow, it's moving so fast now, because science, we've evolved so much, right? Kind of makes me curious as to why am I non-denominational, right? It kind of just fits into those beliefs that I have, right, about evolution, right? I am a realist. I want to see the evidence. I want all you guys to see the evidence too, but sometimes, right, things smack you in the forehead and you still don't see it. I still don't see it. But that's okay. I might not ever see it, right? I'll see something different. I'll see something else. I'll feel something else. I'll do something else, right? It's takes all kinds to make the world. It was something I was working on today, and it was, the main branch of my beliefs are my main branch, those things that I hold true. You guys know I like to explore those side branches. I like to learn about everything, right? Nature, science, religion, spirituality, uh, uh, archaeology, right? Metal detecting, but right, it just goes on and on and on. It's right. I have a curious mind, but everything that I love is tagged on, right, to my brand, right? I explore the inside and the outside, and it's my passion for Mother Nature and history, right? And working with emotions. And I try to stay within that. Three things I can manage and share my three passions. And I'm not an expert in any of them, right? Each one I'm moving in, and I let my curiosity and my ability to absorb to dictate how much of an expert I can be in that. You guys, I can't, right? Homo naledi, Neanderthals, Homo erectus, but you get into those big ones, those ones with those great big huge words. Oh my goodness, can I find one here? Because of course I'm going to have a lot of these kind of videos being suggested to me because like I said, I have been studying Neanderthals for a couple of months now, but I've been studying all the different, yeah, they're just suggesting all the oh, and the DNA, the Chinese are working on, right, reviving the mammoth. Now that one is a little bit trickier because it's so big, isn't it? And because, well, we're humans are still predators, right? Can you imagine the value of a mammoth tusk, right? They'll hunt elephants for their tusks. What makes you think that they're not going to put in twice the effort to make twice the money? And probably it would be more than twice the money, but you're taking twice the risk too because they'd have to be protected 100%. They would have to be protected even more than what the elephants are, right? But yeah, they're working on a mammoth. I think, the ones that we destroyed, the ones that we killed off, those are the ones that deserve to come back. I'm thinking maybe the white rhinoceros would be a good one to bring back. And what about Liocene? Is that what they call tyrosine? Uh uh in Australia, the ones they hunted out of extinction because they thought they were killing their chickens. They were like dogs with stripes. Thiocines, that's what they were called. But there was another name for them too. Andrew. Oh, where's Andrew when you when you need him? Does anybody else know? Oh my goodness, there's Andrew. Andrew, what's the name of that dog from Australia that went extinct in the 1930s? And they got stripes on their backs and they were killed because they were killing, they actually put bounties on, totally extinct. Oh my goodness. What about the dodo bird? Right? Dodo bird deserves to come back too. Didn't think you were coming in tonight, Andrew. We all noticed right away that you weren't here, too. Trying to think. There was another name. Thiocene for sure was one of the names, but there was another devil dog. Oh. He fell asleep. Oh, good. Tasmanian devil. Thank you, Andrew. The Tasmanian devil. Yeah. Is that the Tasmanian devil? Yeah, the Tasmanian devil. So that one deserves to come back because we killed that one off. We right, mind you, we killed them all off, didn't we? Right? You could practically walk across Europe and not bump into a wild animal. Why? Because they ate them all. Right? All they have left is deer. I think that's all. Maybe some foxes too. They got foxes and deers. I'm sure they got lots of wild animals. Maybe not. Oh, right. Yeah, but the real Tasmanian devils doesn't look like that one. Yeah, but the official name is Thiocene. Interesting story though. They kept the last few in a cage in a zoo, and there were only three left, and then the last there was one left, and when that one died, that one died. I think they found a mate for the oldest turtle in the world this year. This year or last year, I think they found a female um, of a species which was the very last of its kind. I can't remember the name the turtle, tortoise, the big ones, right? So tortoise. I wish I could remember the name of it, but there was only one left. They said it was 300 years old because there were dates written on the turtle. So they think this turtle was at least 300 years old. It was really big too. It was bigger than my desk for sure. Oh, guess what time it is, you guys? Oh my goodness. There we go. Amazing Kreskin. What was that one? The Amazing Kreskin. Was that a cartoon digest? Amazing Creston? No, that was a Scotty dog he had. That was a Scotty dog I think he had. Nice to see you come in anyway, Andrew. Right when I got stumped on that question. So seeing you came in late, Andrew, and anybody else who came in late tonight, me and my sister are thinking about teaming up in partnership and dipping our feet into entrepreneurship. I put my foot down and I told her, right? It has to be Prairie Dodgers. No matter what, it has to be Prairie Dodgers because I have to be able to attach it to my brand in order to keep my YouTube videos going. She can do whatever she wants, right? This is Prairie Dodgers Chatters Live. Monday to Friday, I have Prairie Dodgers. What's my good cheer? Right? I got Prairie Dodgers, or I did show and tell. Right? So why can't I have Prairie Dodgers and whatever she wants to call it? And then she can feel that she had a say in that. She really doesn't have a say in this because right, this is my life. And my life is my brand. And my brand goes where I go. Right? That's because I am a vlogger, right? And I have to be that evidence. And how interesting that I got a phone call today and my sister says, "Oh, we're going to Mulvey Market. And if you guys want to check it out, the market, right? And give me your opinion, just Google it. It's Mulvey Market. And check it out and see if you think that would be a good place for me to plant down. I'd be making YouTube videos. I think I started working on my cards today. I didn't get very far. These are all the ones that I've got to write my stuff on. And these ones are all complete now. So I started. I didn't finish because my sister phoned me and she says, "You want to go to Mulvey Market with me?" And I said, "Oh, yes, right." Because I wanted to see what the traffic was like in there. And I wanted to see the sizing and the pricing of the stalls. And yeah, my sister jumped in right away, and she jumped in like that. You don't, right? That's the entrepreneur. Idea hitter, idea to action. We're in, right? So $500 a month, that's $250 a month each. Right. So right off the hop, we'll each pay a month. So we'll be paid up for 2 months and we can see if we can make a go of it. My sister doesn't have a lot of space in her apartment too. She's storing a lot of stuff in her little walk-in space. And so am I, right? So if we can move some of this stuff along and if we can keep that going, because we're out and about all the time, replenishing the shelves is not a problem for us. That's fun for us. And at the same time, right, me and my partner Alice, my sister Alice, we'll be out thrifting and making videos, and I'll be at the I'll be at the shop. Oh, I think one of my dragons fell. That's nervous because thanks you. Any see, that's my hypervigilant. Any little sound, and if it's not the norm, I'm just like, what was that? But isn't that amazing? Then I'm finally I could be my own boss. My sister's a boss too, so we're good partners for each other. We get on each other's nerves quite often, but right, we know each other well enough, and she'll be doing her own thing. I'll be doing my own thing. I told her I would run the shop because that's where I shine, right? That's my thing. That will be my shop. Her right, right. We'll have to figure out some kind of deal because if I'm at the shop, she's grabbing the stock. So right, we got to make sure that we're able to cover some kind of wage. I don't know. Maybe I can talk my sister into paying for the stall completely, and then she wouldn't I wouldn't have to contribute anything. No, that doesn't work. That just makes Cindy the win-win-win. Right? We'll figure it out. She's stewing about it now, but we're going to have to make a fast decision before the spot because spring is coming, and spring and summer it's going to be busy there because people, right? They walk up from the forks and stuff when they do the river walk, and it comes right up behind Mulvey Market, so they don't have really much of a choice but to walk right past it. So they'll probably come in, and yeah, next Saturday we'll go and we'll see what the foot traffic looks like because it should be starting to pick up now that it is spring. It hit 17 degrees yesterday, you guys. 17 Celsius. I don't know what that is in Fahrenheit, but it hit 17 degrees today. And it was really, really lovely. I was even out there without my jacket. The only reason I'm wearing my vest right now, which I will take off. Oh, and I'm wearing my keys too, you guys. Right? So I just came home. We went for a swim, then we went quickly to the grocery store because my sister needed some things for dinner. And of course, you're going to the grocery store. I had to get my brisk mango, 15 calories, you guys. It's amazing. If you haven't tried this yet, this is just amazing. I can't rave about it enough. I couldn't have I was gonna say start my diet at a better time, but I'm cheating right and left on that. But that's okay. I'm still losing it. And it's not a matter of losing weight. I am good with the weight that I'm at, but it's about eating differently. I want to eat more meat because that's not something I do a lot of. First off, right? For me, meat is expensive, and so being the cheapie, I don't buy it. I buy other things. I buy the snacks, and those are expensive too. You go in and you can pay 7 or 8 cents for a little container of cookies or tarts or whatever it is, when you could spend that $7 and buy 4 pork chops, right? Right? Or maybe a pound of hamburger if you're lucky. Praise hamburgers the 20. I don't know what it's like in the States. I think actually they were saying I watched the news that we imported a lot of the beef into the States. But I don't know what the pricing is of beef right now. Here in Canada, maybe because of the tariffs and all of that, it's slowing the amount of beef that's getting into the States, which means there's an excess of beef, which means there's beef sales going on in our grocery stores. I don't mean to take take advantage of the fact that that beef's not going to the States, but it has to be eaten, doesn't it? So yeah, our prices in our meat have been really, really good. I got a turkey for under $20 yesterday. Yesterday? I went for a walk yesterday. Yesterday or the day before I went for a walk. and I got a turkey for $20. So I offered all the dark meat to my sister because I just basically eat the white meat off a turkey. But then I thought, if I clean it really good and make sure all those right, I don't recognize it as an animal, that maybe I could clean the meat good enough that I can use some of that dark meat and put it in a chicken soup or something and get some extra use out of it, right? Get some extra protein. That's the whole idea, to get some extra protein into me, be more consistent in my vitamins and in my minerals. You guys, I switched. I thought this was just for kids, right? And of course, being somebody who used to be always concerned about their weight, I didn't want to take something with sweetener in them, right? But these gummies make it so I don't forget to take my vitamins because I don't eat candy, but I like candy. Um, I do my multivitamin in a gummy, right? I got a good deal on a great big bottle for my next bottle, and then I do my magnesium in a gummy, and I think that was one of my best recent moves that I have done in a long time, especially because of my malabsorption from my gastric bypass, right? So uh, things don't absorb into my system really, really good. And when they do, they go through the system so fast that they don't have a chance to be absorbed by the system. This is why I take lots of vitamins and minerals, because half of my vitamin minerals are not getting into the system. So I have to double up on that. Right. And I've been on vitamins and minerals since I was a little kid, very young, oh my goodness, I'd have to say maybe 5 or 6 years old. My parents started me on vitamins and minerals, um, and they have served me well. I attribute my good health, right? That even though I didn't eat well, that I at least took my vitamins, but I wasn't always consistent because sometimes, I go on my runs where every day I'm taking my right formulas, and then also I would switch the formulas up, right? So right now I'm doing my multivitamins and my magnesium, but there are times when I'm doing my multivitamins and my B12s, and sometimes I'm doing my D3s in the wintertime. We're going into summer. That's probably not going to be a problem for me because I spend lots of time outside in the summer. I get lots of sun. Um, but I change them up in the needs that I have, right? And I attribute my good health to the fact that I took vitamins my entire life. You know, I'd like to see my sister Alice get on the vitamins because, you think for your good health, it's just your physical good health, but vitamins and minerals are also for your mental good health. And when you're not taking your vitamins and minerals, your mental health isn't so great. So what does it do? It forgets. It says you don't need the vitamins, you don't need the magnesium, you don't need the multivitamins and stuff, and you become delinquent in taking care of yourself. And if you get delinquent in taking care of yourself that way, what other ways are we not taking care of ourselves? Something to think about, right? Oh, but look, I'm looking down at my book here because I started to tell you guys, and let's come into the comments here for a moment. Um, Andrew says, I like to buy a pre cooked chicken from the grocery store deli. Then I take the meat off the bones and freeze the meat and have a little bit at a time, maybe as a sandwich or mixed into soup. That's a great idea. That's what I'm doing with this turkey, right? I'm going to have turkey dinner on Easter. I'm going to strip that meat off, right? I'll probably give some to my sister Alice because that's a lot of dark meat that I probably won't eat, to be honest, and I don't want it to go bad. But the nice pieces of dark meat, like the thigh bones where there's no tendons and no veins and no little pieces of blubber or anything like that, right? Maybe. And I'll have to chop it up into little cubes and stuff right away before I freeze it, because otherwise I won't probably use it. I'm pretty finicky when it comes to the meat. I don't know why, but I've been like that my entire life, right? Kentucky Fried Chicken night. My dad was big on takeout when he had a good poker game or they got a good paycheck or abundance came through somehow. I was a kid. I didn't care how it happened. My dad would do takeout, whether it was Chinese or pizza or right. He would bring us in these treats. But when it was Kentucky Fried Chicken Day here in Manitoba, they call it K fry. They call it K fry. But when I was a kid, it was called Kentucky Fried Chicken. And oh yeah, they hated to watch me eat chicken because I was so wasteful. I'd pick at the bready part on the top. It could only be white meat, and I wouldn't eat all the white meat just right because I couldn't have any of my meat touching bones or anything. Right? That was just it was awful. I must have driven my parents crazy because right, it's still takeout. We know takeout is expensive, right? I look at some of these things and I think, oh, right, maybe I didn't deserve everything, but I wasn't really on the ball in some of those things that I could have done a little bit better by with my parents, right? When my mom asked me to rub her feet, I couldn't rub my mother's feet. Mind you, all my other sisters would be right into that with the hand cream and right in there like they were masseuses. I couldn't bear to touch mother's my mother's feet, but maybe I could have. My family, we weren't required to do housework. My mother did all the housework, and my mother worked full time. And my mother expected us not to be in her sight. She didn't want to see us or anything, but I don't know if she liked doing housework, but I know it was out of the kindnesses of our heart. We say, "Oh, we'll do the dishes for you," or we'd rake the rugs because that's in the 60s and 70s. And in the 60s and 70s, you raked your rug like you raked the front yard because it was shag carpet, right? And so, in order for it to look nice, it all had to stand on end. So, you would take the rake and you would rake the carpet, right? So we'd rake the carpet for her. Dust, right? I remember being helpful in those ways, but I don't know because of my relationship with my mother that I really went out of my way to help her out. Whatever I did, it was probably just to appease her. Mind you, I was talking to my sister Alice today, and we were talking about my mom, and we were saying, my mom did teach me to bake because I baked my brother-in-law some oatmeal raisin cookies today. Well, I baked oatmeal raisin cookies, but they happened to phone me while they were in the oven and say, "We're going to Mulvey Market. Do you want to come?" And I said, "Yes, please. Of course, I want to go out for an outing." And she goes, "Okay." And then we're going swimming. And I went, "Oh, swimming. Can I come?" I I grabbed my bag and my towel and my threw my swimsuit on and my clothes over top, and off I went on an outing today, and it was so amazing. I had so much fun at Mulvey Market. I learned lots. It alleviated and give me possibilities in my movement forward. And especially in the way that I want to move in entrepreneurships, right? I don't even know if I'll like being an entrepreneur, but I know because I'm highly sensitive and I'm empathic, it's really hard for me to work for somebody who I don't know if they're going to be positive energy or if they're going to be a drain on me, right? I'm getting better at spotting them now. And hopefully going forward, I'll be a little bit better at moving out of the way when I happen onto them again and not just hold on out of necessity for the milk on my cereal. I don't eat cereal. Well, I do eat cereal. I like oatmeal. Right? Just to keep a roof over my head. Uh, I want to be that person that can do well by those other parts of me, knowing that, right, I get what I give. I'm going to take care of those other parts of me, and those other parts of me are going to take care of me. And this I believe it. And I really do believe that. And that's the thing that got me into the lesson today. Um I just do my Sunday night live on Sunday, but I like to well, I don't like to do too much. Sunday is a day of rest, but there was a good lesson. And one of the lessons that came across my path today was on belief, right? And we were talking about the main branch of the tree. And the main branch of my tree are my truths, and they're my beliefs. It's where I am, right? That this is where I am. And so lots of times when I go talking down here, and then I get so sidetracked that I don't know where I am or what I'm talking about, that I know that I can just come right back to the main branch of the tree because I know where that main branch is. But I want to be very clear what's on that main branch. You guys want to hear it? Because I wrote it down. And my main branch of my tree are my beliefs. I just started it because then again, like I said, my sister told me, "You want to go out?" Oh yeah, I'm in. I'm in. And so whatever projects I was doing, I just stopped. I stopped working on the cards. I stopped working on this. What? It's not a project. It wasn't a goal. It was a lesson. That's all it was a lesson. But it was a very good lesson to see where I was at right now. Okay? My beliefs. These are beliefs, you guys. These are things that I truly believe in, right? And if you don't believe in them, maybe you could take a look at what I believe in. Maybe you can find some familiarity there. Or maybe you have a belief that I need to hear that I've never heard before. And if you said what that belief was, then maybe it's something I can munch on, maybe take a lesson in something, right? But these are things that over the course of the years, right? Some of this I have always known, right? Like well, there's a couple here that I've known that I growing up with. It was part of my upbringing. So give credit to that. It gave me a little bit of a head start in what I'm doing, right? And maybe probably alleviate some of those difficulties that I might have run into because I didn't have that, right? Okay. One thing I believe in is what you think about is realized. And this is a truth, you guys. A big part of our illnesses and our issues and our problems is our recognition in them, which is okay. We should recognize if we have a problem. But in recognizing we have a problem, we should either try to resolve that problem if there is something to resolve, something we can do about it, or we accept that we accept that as a part of ourselves, as a weakness, maybe in baby steps work on it a little bit if you can. But what you think about is realized, and that is so true. And things that are repeated to myself over and over again, and the things that other people repeated to me over and over again growing up, that all impacts me. And some of it impacted me well, sometimes it didn't impact me well, right? But what I think about is realized. And some of those things that were so important for me that I wanted so much in my life, I did not get to have because I didn't think I was entitled to them. I was told, or I was made to think, it wasn't even a possibility, and that's a truth. And after a while, I didn't need anybody to tell me it wasn't a possibility, because I was telling myself that it wasn't a possibility. Right? I did that to myself. Right? What you think about is realized. When I said I'm so grateful for my good health, right? Because I take my magnesium, and because I take my multivitamins, and right? And I give credit to that, right? But because I don't put my thoughts consistently to my health, because I don't I don't go, oh, my bones ache today, unless I walk 6 miles, right? I don't go, oh, I've got a headache. Not unless you spent 6 hours working on your income tax return to try and do a good job that would be nice and smooth and nobody gets in trouble. And right. And then you end up like, oh, that was. And then you go eat something yummy and you feel a little bit better. And then you go to bed early, and then you wake up in the morning and you start afresh. And it's like the weight of the world has come off of you, right? But I don't think about my health now. As a human, if you have arthritis and you got aches and pain, what are you going to do? You're going to think about that ache and pain, and you're going to think about it. You're going to think about it. You're going to think about it. And what you think about is realizing you think that ache and your pain that might have just been, you hitting it up against the wall, that you've stressed yourself out. What is that? I need to check it out. Oh my goodness, it's ongoing, and smacked it again. And oh my goodness, it's something serious. And then and the next thing you know, right, what you think about is realized. I had a friend, and this person just thought about the end of life. We'll say that, right? Just thought about death all the time. Thought about it for herself, thought about it for her kids, was always looking at diseases and what she could possibly have, or he possibly could have, to be fair, and not letting it out there. And and they drove themselves bonkers when there was absolutely nothing wrong. And he had no control when, if, or how they were going to pass away. And I'm thinking, why would anybody want to go there, right? Needs to preoccupy the mind in something else. That's the trick, because what you think about is realized. So you're thinking about it, thinking about it till it realizes, right? I knew when I was a little kid that I was never going to have children. I knew that. And I never did have kids, right? I didn't know why I wasn't going to have children, but I knew I wasn't going to have children. I knew it, right? It was told to me. And like I said, after a while, I didn't have to have anybody tell me that it was the truth, right? Uh, I did have get pregnant, and I did have a miscarriage. So, and I do believe that those other parts of me moved forward anyway, right? Got to move forward anyway, but not in my life. What I think about is realized. And so I'll think about those other parts of me, right? Other parts of me too, right? That that gets to expand somewhere else. And what I think about is realize, and I'm going to think that way because that serves me, And I think in the end that might serve somewheres down the road, just like all of this, right? All of this, it serves me in the moment. In the moment, it might not serve anybody, but who's to say? You know, 10 years, 20 years, 100 years, a few 100 years from now, right? You're down to the last few and you're looking for possibilities. What else can we do? Right? Let's try Cindy's idea. And unless I get my idea out there, there won't be anything to try. And yeah, so these beliefs, it's important for me to express myself because technology and AI might be using this as a baseline to create the best human being that they possibly can, because that's what I was trying to do. That's my creative mind. I just thought that up just now. I've touched on that a little bit here and there, but that just came up. So I just kind of share you so you can see a little bit how my brain works that way. What you think about is realized. Life is what happens while you are making other plans. You guys know that one is very important to me. That's part of my mission statement, right? Right? Life is what happens to us while we are making other plans, and that is so true. So live the best life as we possibly can, because those things that happen to us, we want them to be amazing and fun and adventurous and kind and loving and full of miraculous wonder, right? We know that's not always possible, but we can throw that mix in. And when those hard times can, like I said, you can, right? You can whistle while you work. It was the best of times, it was the worst of times, right? Singing in the rain, right? And that's true too. Again, the other one, my mission statement also, I have two mission statements. I think I have three, I think. It takes all kinds to make the world, right? It is in our diversity that we are going to learn, right? Without that knowledge from the person on the other side of the world who's doing something different than what I'm doing, how would I ever have the opportunity to learn that unless that person was, right, doing what they love, doing what they are good at, right? And who's to say I'm going to cross that path? But in understanding, right, I work with what comes across my path, that it will come across my path if that is what I'm supposed to, right, ride in those waves that come into my life. Uh Third one, you get what you give. It's so simple, right? You don't get the exact same thing, right? Maybe you do, but when you give, the most amazing things come into your life. And just at my last 2 weeks at my job was the evidence in that truth. You get what you give. Like all those beautiful, unique, creative ways that people say goodbye to me, how they let me know how much they appreciated my company, and the way that I ran my shifts, right? That was so, it blew me away. It was the best leaving my job I have ever had. I quit my job and it was the best exit I have ever had in any job. It was incredible, but it is so true. In the past half a dozen years to reckon, I've always been a giver. My entire life I have been a giver. But it's beautiful to give for the want of giving and not give because that's your job, that's your position, That's what you were built for, right? That I get to choose how I disperse that out. And right, like I said, I'm good if I do this flea market. I'm gonna rock it. I will, because that's my forte. I just put on a good show. I just put on a good show. I've always been that way, right? Always been that way. And whatever I shine on is going to set, right? I won't necessarily shine on myself, right? The goodness that comes into my life is the goodness that I put out there, right? But yeah, I shine very well for others. I think I do anyway. Um, Kindness is knowing and moving in what will help. Uh, and that's true, because lots of times, in that idea of tough love, sometimes that you think that what we're doing to somebody in the moment is unkind. You gotta do this. You do this and you don't get your allowance on Saturday, or do your homework. And if you don't do your homework, you don't get to watch Pokemon. I don't know if Pokemon is a television show, but you don't get to watch Pokemon before you go to bed, right? Um, when you send a child off to private schools, sometimes could be considered an unkindness. You know, uh, Telling the child to stop playing and come in the house for dinner, that can be considered an unkindness. It's in the perspective of the person receiving, right? That kindness that sometimes, as a kid, we don't look into it. We look at what we're losing out on. We don't look at what we're gaining. Dinner can wait. I am having fun, right? This is the way I thought. But kindness is knowing in moving in what will help, right? And sometimes you got to be the bad guy, right? In order to do something good. I'm going to have to say, is Nancy here? I'm going to come right in to just check to see if Nancy here. Right? This is why I think about these people who are in leadership, right? I don't judge them that way, because none of us know why they were put in place. If you believe in God, you got to understand God's in control. God's always in control, right? So he knows what's going on. And yes, there is free choice, right? But God's always got things under control. And I believe this. And so this is why I don't worry about these things. Why I don't think about them. Because that's taken away from the thinking that and contemplation that I could be doing on something else. So I am not compulsing about those things, because I understand what you think about is realized, right? It was like, when I was taking my lessons in narcissism, right? And that's a heavy one. And it's a topic that is going to be prevalent going forward. I think probably for a couple of decades, until, right, it becomes unacceptable. And it's going to be in being unacceptable that it's not going to happen anymore. Or it's going to be that, right, we finally learned to accept mindset and be able to be relatable to each other by holding up and respecting boundaries. That's a possibility. That's a possibility too, right? But yeah, in going in that, it's a belief of mine, and it belongs on that main branch of my tree where I'm going back right now, because I going down one. Okay, another belief, which is this is crucial, you guys, for everybody. And I don't know if people take this into consideration, because these are my beliefs, right? These are things that I spent a lot of time in really evaluating, and studying and listening in on conversations, and then in contemplation, uh, working it out for myself, untangling those wires and stabilizing myself by, right, understanding a truth for myself. So the next belief that I have is you have to be willing to reframe to better understand and know how to help. Lots of us, right? We're all trying to help, but we're trying to help with information that isn't helpful, and sometimes it isn't right information. It's not the truth, right? None of us have the 100% truth. A lot of it is tradition. A lot of it is culture. A lot of it is opinions being drilled into us that are being made make us feel a certain way, right? So we have to be steadfast. There's my values, right? They're sitting right there, but there could be a kink there. There could be something that I don't got right. And for an example, labeling my mother a narcissist when in truth, my mother was a borderline with narcissistic tendencies. And there is a big difference in that. And if I had gone off and continued to tell those stories, I would have been telling an untruth, but an untruth that I felt was a truth because it was there. It was solid, but those lessons didn't come across my path. I just went into the study of borderlines, and right, it was eye opening to see the similarities between borderlines and narcissists. And there are similarities, but there are serious differences too that you can really notice and catch up on that mistake. So it made me feel really bad because I've been around narcissists my entire life. I could, right? I know them. We have relationships, right? I'd be me being the giver, then being the taker. And it's not like a taker in a bad way necessarily, because my father had those very strict tendencies and stuff, but he had the biggest heart too. But he bit his tongue. You were trying to figure out what you did wrong, and you would try to course correct in that, right? But that's that willing to be course corrected. That's that willingness to look at an idea that is core to you and to be open to the idea that you might have gotten it wrong, because there's no chance, because none of us have got it right. And I think it's absolutely impossible for any of us to have that right. And if you think you have that right, then get a hold of me and we can have a conversation on narcissism, right? Right? And I'll show you where those mistakes are, and not being willing. Not being willing will not get you moving forward. It will not get you to the next stage of evolution, because next stage of evolution is a stretch. And it doesn't mean a stretch all at once, but maybe a little bit of a stretch in this lifetime, a little bit of stretch in the next lifetime, until we're all there, right? And we're not even close, right? Yeah, so you have to be willing to be course corrected, right? What did I say? Reframe it. You have to be willing to, right? You don't necessarily have to apologize, because, right, hopefully the only one that right, because anybody who knows an untruth won't listen to it anyway. And right, being here on YouTube, nobody's going to suggest my content if I don't get it right either, right? So it's important to but I have right, I have maybe 8 or 9 of these down already, was the point that I was trying to make. And it took me a long time, a lot of siphoning, a lot of changing, and a lot of reframing the way I thought. Right? I used to be an agnostic, right? Now I'm a believer. How cool is cool is that? I might not recognize, right? That being or that source, uh, right? That I won't know what it looks like, or right? Maybe never, right? But I do believe, because in the evidence of my life, right? Those small serendipities that come across my path make me smile, make me say, oh, just wait. Okay, you guys. I think that's it for tonight. We went over just a few minutes. Um, I'll be back tomorrow for what's my good cheer. I'll be back next Sunday. I'll fill you in and let you know whether or not me and my sister are fully in business. And um, yeah, this week I've got my got it right here, you guys. Not supposed to be writing my notes in this book. Okay. My distraction battle plan, right? So we're going to see if I can do a little bit better. It's not a difficult one, but it does make me pay attention because of the title, Distraction Battle Plan. So it's making me pay attention to how much I actually get distracted, and I get distracted lots. Okay, you guys, it's time for some din din. You guys have a great night, and we'll see you tomorrow if we see you, and if we don't, see you next Sunday. Andrew says, Cindy, that reminds me of a friend who controlled by fear and anxiety. It seems my friend actually has to have something to be worried about or afraid of, doesn't know how to live without it. Right? What you think about is realize that's a toughie once you go down that route, because you need something else to think about. And usually what I would say is, right, maybe they can get themselves a girlfriend. That would change it. That would change it. You need to make a switch. You need to change that habit for a new habit, for a different habit, and compulse about something else, right? I don't compulse about how I'm going to pay my bills because all that money went into the VLTs, right? Video lottery returns, because I was a compulsive gambler. I'm going, oh my goodness, Cha-ching! Oh my goodness, I get to learn about change today. I get to learn about distraction today, right? And I get to learn about reframing, right? And that's pretty amazing. We all get to make our own choices in that. Okay, you guys, have a great night.